Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Cooper, known as the Channel Guy Trader, and I'm reporting to you live from Wall Street Trading Satellite Office down in sunny South Florida. Today's date is Saturday, the 21st, 2012, and here's the weekend market wrap-up report. The indices were up across the board this week except for the Russell 2000. The Nasdaq was up close to 1%, ending the week up 0.98%. The NYSE was up 0.21%. The Dow Jones was up 0.75%. The S&P 500 was up 0.37%, and the AMEX was up 0.20%. Unfortunately, as you guys can see here, the Russell 2000 was not able to join the bullish action and ended the week down 0.64%. Of course, as traders, we know this is not a good sign because the Russell 2000 gives us a good clue of risk being on or risk being off. At the same time, it's a good measure, of strength for the small caps as they track a lot of small cap companies. All right, and this is giving us a clue that we may get a pullback at these levels in the indices. However, we'll have to wait and see as we do have a lot of earnings coming out next week, and it is just, earnings season. Still has a couple more weeks left to go. Okay, there are still some high-flying stocks out there, such as Google, which closed back above the which closed back above the $600 level, which it has not done since back in May. And also Amazon is looking decent as well. However, they have earnings next week. So we have to wait until they report earnings to see how much potential the stock has if it wants to continue to the upside. Financial stocks continue to show weakness as they cannot get out of their own way. And I am seeing a lot of choppy action in the charts, and of course this is indicative of summer trading, so I will continue to trade them light. I would recommend you guys trade them light and only take the best setups. Now, before I go over the charts, I want to remind you guys to go to wallstreettrading.com. Okay, just type in wallstreettrading.com and sign up for the 14-day free trial, which you can see here on the right-hand side. That'll give you access to our intraday trading room. Also, every Sunday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you'll get access to log into our Wall Street Trading's exclusive live webinar that we do, and we'll give you basically up-to-the-minute research that we've done over the weekend and day trading ideas for the coming week, and we just socialize together with other traders that join the room and go over charts. So it's pretty good, and right now it's a 14-day free trial. We're not charging for it. Even after the 14-day free trial, you obviously are still going to have more access to it. You're still going to have access to the chat room as we're still getting everything up and running. So just come see what we're about. Come check us out there, and let's take a look at some of the charts here that I discussed. Okay, first we're going to give a basic breakdown of what the market's doing. All right, so I want to take a look at the dollar first, for the fact the dollar is, the best indicator to use right now for market direction, as the market has been trading inverse to the dollar or vice versa, however you want to say it. But as we can see here, okay, the dollar is breaking out of this nice little pennant flag right here from this nice little move it had to the upside from back here in April. All right, and it's breaking out of this triangle. As you can see, I have highlighted the areas to watch, and the pullback that we had last week Thursday held, and we had a nice bounce on Friday. So this is telling me that next week we could see the dollar get a nice little up move back up towards the top of this channel up here around the 84 level on the US dollar futures, which if you use Think or Swim, that's going to be /DX. And for you guys out there, you guys probably already know that, but just for anybody that's new that's watching the video, that's going to be /DX. Okay, so if this dollar gets to move to the top side, I'll be expecting to pull back in the market. I'll be expecting the small caps to be the leader. To the downside, of course, they're obviously showing relative weakness to the other indices. Okay, and then we will be expecting a pullback in some of these commodity stocks that have not been able to bounce with the market or are still trading sideways on their lows at the bottom of their ranges. So keep an eye on that. We'll have some ideas in the Sunday night chart breakdown segment that we have. And the dollar chart again is looking like it wants to make another leg higher, and that this is going to be the higher low that it's working off of. Okay, now let's take a look at the euro dollar. Okay, the euro dollar actually made a new low on Friday. Let me take off my channel stuff here. All right, hide all drawings. All right, the euro actually made new 2012 lows here, as you can see. All right, that's not good at all. And if the euro continues to show weakness, we are going to see the dollar make new highs, and obviously we're going to see the market start to get weak. Okay. Now, what's these currencies? What sectors are they going to affect? Now, before I take a look at the indice charts, guys, let's take a look at some of these commodity stocks. All right, I like to use the oil futures. I'll take a look at the USO first. All right, if you guys remember my wrap-up video that I believe I did Wednesday night or Thursday, I did Thursday night, where I highlighted how we were coming to this key area where we are going to have some resistance. So the USO did gap down slightly. However, it still ended up positive. As you can see here, we opened at 34.16 and it closed at 34.20. So it's barely up, but this is not a big deal right here. I mean, oil's still going up, still floating up. If you take a look at the crude oil futures, which is what I track the most here, you can see we are back above this $90 per barrel level, $90 a barrel level, and we're going to have the next resistance level that I'm watching is going to be around this 94, which comes from this key trend line from this prior channel that we had, this little top area. I would not be surprised if we consolidate sideways a bit before we try to move higher. If you take a little bit closer look at this chart, you can see this was basically just a breakout of an inverse head and shoulders pattern that took place. So it's at an angle, and if you want to take your measured move, you will go from here, and you can say, okay, crude oil could be up towards 96, in the next, couple weeks or so, if everything plays out together to allow it to do so, such as dollar, starting to show more weakness since it did pull back, but it's going back high from Friday. But we need that dollar to show some weakness, and that most likely is going to propel crude oil to the next target level up here towards 96. Okay. Now, if we take a look at the gold, all right, I would like to take a look at the GLD. All right, the GLD, something's brewing up here. Okay, GLD is in a nice little tight triangle. Okay, if we take a look at the monthly chart, the monthly chart still holding above 151. We take a look at the weekly chart. You can see the weekly chart. It's kind of this little downward channel, but it's respecting the 50% channel line. And I could take off these studies so you guys can see a little bit more clear. You can see how we're in this little downward channel. We're still above the 50% channel line. All right, and at the same time, we're still holding this little prior resistance, which is now support around this 152, 151 area. Okay, we've been holding that level since back here in May, since back here in May. So keep an eye on that. All right, if gold continues to hold above 152 in the short term here, I would think that gold's going to, buyers going to start stepping in and taking this gold higher. The trend is down from the peak that we made last September. Okay, so we want to watch to see if gold's going to, break to the upside out this triangle or break to the downside and continue off those highs that we made. All right, and start making a pattern of lower highs. So we'll wait for that when it's set up. Let's take a look at silver. I really don't trade silver that much, but we can take a look at silver to see how it's reacting itself. SLV is the best way to look at it. If you want to look at silver futures, you can use /SI. Silver futures, silver not really doing anything right now. It is holding the 2011 lows. Let me zoom this chart in. Okay, and those lows are around the 25.63 area. And at the same time, you could draw a little downward trend line in the silver futures as well and say, okay, this looks kind of interesting. If we break that upward trend line, that downward trend line, we will, most likely probably get a trade to the top side. So this is something that I'm going to be looking at going to Sunday night chart session to see if there's any strong silver stocks out there that we could watch next week. All right, last but not least, JJC, copper. Okay, this is one way you can look at the copper chart. Some people use the copper futures. I usually use the copper futures, so let me go ahead and use that, which is /HG. All right, and we're basically in a range right now. You can see copper has its resistance up here at 360, but it's been holding a resistance level before the 360 level, which is a 353 level. Okay, and one thing that I'm watching as well is this key trend line right here. Okay, kind of have a little upward channel right there. So we'll see how this plays out. As copper breaks down, that's going to give me a clue that some of these commodities are going to start getting weak again. The copper is a key commodity that a lot of economists watch and a lot of traders watch, a lot of funds watch. They use this as a gauge the same way we use the small caps as a gauge as well. Okay, now the moment you guys been waiting for, the VIX and the indices. Let's take a look at this VIX chart, guys. The VIX looks pretty interesting right here for the fact that it's in a downward kind of bullish wedge. All right, this is showing us that we could have some more downside in the VIX, meaning the market could float up higher. But at the same time, this pattern is showing us that, in the couple weeks that we have, the next couple weeks here, we could be looking at a pop in volatility. I mean, the volatility has been dropping, just been dropping every day. There's no fear. Everybody's in buy mode. Everybody's a happy camper, and everybody feels safe until next thing you know they buy, and that's when it's actually the top and time to sell. That's how it usually ends up. So keep an eye on this VIX. You do not want to be that person buying the market on the highs, and the next day you get a gap down because you weren't paying attention to the indices or the VIX or any other clues that we like to focus on. That if you guys come and check us out in the room, we can get you guys up to date with what you should be watching to make sure that you're prepared and have a better success of trading, and have a higher success of trading and making money based on what we see in these charts and how everything is setting up. All right, now let's take a look at the charts here. Let's take a look at the indices. I like to look at the ES as a gauge. I know some of you guys out there like to look at the SPY. All right, I like to look at the ES. All right, and one thing that I'm watching, let me take off some of my little annotations here. One thing I like to look for are channels. That's why they call me Channel Guy Trader, because I trade in channels. All right, I use that technique to manage my risk. Okay, and you can see here we are in an upward sloping channel, and these channels, of course, usually result to the downside, and they also give you more clues. All right, what do I mean by more clues? Well, more clues meaning that we were not able to come up towards the top of this channel up here towards the 1400 area, and they actually started selling it at the prior resistance, which was from our last touch at the top of the channel 2 weeks ago. Okay, now one thing I highlighted in my previous video was I was looking for a back test of this blue trend line, which comes from the head and shoulders breakdown that we had back here in May. All right, you usually get that official back test, but notice how we actually sold off in front of that 1370 area. All right, and we have not been able to go up there to actually back test that level. We have not even been able to make a move up here towards the high of this channel right here, to upper end of this channel around the 1400 area. Not saying it can't happen next week, but this is something we have to watch. One thing I'm also watching for is to see if, okay, is this going to be a little head and shoulders pattern that we have here at a little slight angle? All right, it very well could be. Okay, so keep an eye on that. I'll definitely keep you guys posted. And let's take a look at this weekly chart of the ES, because this is something that's very important that you guys need to watch here. This 1365 level, right, highlighted in my previous video, comes from back here in May as resistance. Comes from this little top of the range that we had before a lot of bulls got trapped up there. All right, from the breakdown. So now it's resistance, and until we get above that 1365, ladies and gentlemen, you got to remain neutral on the market. I don't want to say bearish on the market, because there are some signs out there showing us that we could push higher. But at the same time, you don't want to get too bullish up here until we get a close above 1365 on a weekly basis, in my book. That's what I'm looking for. All right, the monthly chart of the ES still remains in an upward channel and above all the moving averages. Okay. Next, we want to take a look at the SPY, since some of you guys look at the SPY. All right, this is the weekend video, guys, so we are going to go over the NASDAQ, the Russell, and the Dow Jones real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. So anyway, taking a look at the SPY has the same upward channel as well. SPY has the same upward channel as well. And you can see here how the market's just been gapping up, gapping down, a lot of little tight ranges, dojis, some explosive candles. Just shows you that, summer trading is on. You have to manage your risk and, be prepared in the morning to take, to make your morning trades and make the money in the morning, and just call it a day in the afternoon, because really in the afternoon, there's not that many setups. So 136 remains, 136 is a prior resistance. So now it's going to act as support. If the SPY breaks below 136, we could make a move back down towards the 135 area, possibly 134. If we hold above 136 and trade sideways between 136 and 138, you want to be looking for that next move higher. Okay, I want to put my moving averages back on the chart so we can see if we're above them. And we are above all the moving averages, above the short term, the 8 simple and the 8 exponential and the 50 and the 20. And above the 200, but everything is it's going to get interesting. It's going to get interesting going into going into the next couple months here. Let's take a look at the Qs, triple Qs. Okay, Triple Qs broke their little upward channel here. Bear with me 1 second. I like to take the moving averages off so you can see just price action. I like to track price action and volume. Not a big fan of using stochastics or all the other overlays, but price action and volume is what I like to pay attention to, and channels. Okay, and of course timing. Everything has to come, everything has to line up perfectly. So, taking a look at the NASDAQ, the Qs, you can see this little prior upward channel that we had in place since last October. We broke that upward channel, and look how many times it's trying to get back above that channel, but we're having trouble. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that remains key. This trend line is something I'm watching for the fact that if we start holding above that 65.50 level or so, then I'll say, okay, we're back inside the channel. But we cannot get back inside the channel, and at the same time now, we were able to draw this little downward sloping channel, and now we're at the top of that channel. So this is kind of a double resistance area here on the Qs. So the 65 zone, I don't want to say price level, I want to say zone. All right, that 65 zone, all right, is a key area. If we start holding above 65, then we're definitely going to go higher. But until we get above 65 on a closing basis, I would say for about 2 or 3 days, then you want to remain cautious buying stocks up here, technology stocks. We do have our standouts, though, like I said, Google and Amazon, which we're going to take a look at here shortly. Let's take a look at IWM. All right, IWM showing weakness. I have some annotations left from from my prior analysis here. I actually leave them on the chart. You can see the IWM, a little upward channel you can draw in right here. Okay, and it's coming into the kill zone pretty soon. Kill zone meaning that if we don't hold those levels, they're going to kill the IWM and knock down these small caps. Okay, so watch the IWM. 78 is a decent level. Now, would not be surprised if we come down here, touch this tag the 78 level, along with the bottom of this little upward channel that we have in place. Keep an eye on the IWM. All right, last but not least, the Dow Jones. I'll take a look at the DIA. Or no, you know what? I'll take a look at the actual Dow Jones index. All right, let me take off my channel stuff here. All right, the Dow Jones also a nice little upward channel setting in here. Okay, and for the fact again that it cannot make a higher high from these prior levels shows you that traders or institutions are selling some Dow Jones, because if it was strong, it would actually be making its way towards the upper end of this channel, as we already tagged the channel right here, and this second high that we had right here was not able to tag the top of the channel. Okay, so there's a lot of interesting things taking place. Dow Jones I want to see above 1300. If you can't get above 1300, we have a range identified here. You can call it 1300 and then say 12.5. Okay, and as you can see, a perfect nice little range right here. So if that dollar is lining up to go higher, like I highlighted earlier, and the Dow Jones is looking like this, and the NASDAQ is looking the same way at the resistance area, I would not be surprised if we see a pullback next week. Only time will tell, and you have to come to the chat room and see how we trade it. Okay, now let's take a look at these strong stocks I want to highlight. I'm not going to go over a whole bunch of charts because we're going to leave that for Sunday night. However, Google remains strong. I mean, look at this stock here, just a beast. All right, came out with earnings Thursday after the bell. Yeah, Thursday after the bell, they came out with earnings. They traded higher. The next day, I believe they sold it off a little bit in the first 15 minutes. Well, actually, yeah, on Friday, they sold it off. Let's take a look at the 5-minute chart. On Friday, they sold it off in the first 15 minutes on the gap up, put a nice little hammer, back testing the previous day's highs, which is this green trend line I have in my charts, and then off to the races it went. Ran from 598 all the way to a high of 612. Decent cash flow there if you were watching and you were prepared to trade that stock. So Google looks strong. We want to see if this could continue higher and hold these levels. It is coming all the way from 560, and it's at 610. So it's up about $50 from the prior, from I would say 2 weeks ago. So watch that stock. Amazon, another stock that's going to be in focus next week as they have earnings. Amazon broke down at this little upward rising channel, and you guys know these usually resolve to the downside. And right now we're back testing the trend line. If we get back above that trend line, and you can say we get above, say, this 231 area, 232. I wouldn't be surprised if Amazon, gets, trades up towards 233, maybe even 245 area. Okay, you can see what they did here on the last earnings report. Stock closed at 195 and opened up at 225. So earnings is going to be key. I'm not a gambler. I don't bet via earnings, trying to trade around earnings, so I won't be participating in this stock, on the earnings day, but I'll watch it going into earnings, and I'll watch it the day after earnings and after hours when it reports. If it reports after hours, which it does. So keep Amazon on your watch list, keep Google on your watch list, and just watch the dollar, and watch to see what these commodity stocks do. Okay. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you go to wallstreettrading.com and sign up for the 14-day free trial to get access to our Sunday night chart session and the chat room in the morning. Okay, and that's about it, guys. Hope you guys enjoy your weekend. Don't party too hard, and I'll catch you guys in the war room Monday. Have a great weekend, guys. Later.